What are the highest paying jobs today? How can you make bank, as they say, and be happy as well? Enjoy these incredible clips, which are like breadcrumbs, leading you into more joy, more fulfillment, and yes, more money too.
You manifested $1 million basically overnight.
5 days.
5 days.
Yeah. Few people ask the really important question. How did you become a match? It wasn't winning the lottery. Someone actually said, you're worth $1 million.
Yeah.
How did that process happen?
You guys, I have to say something. It really is that simple. Well, if you just let go and go to that place, things happen. I got up in the morning, I did my meditation. Right after my meditation, I got a text from my client. Hey, are you free to have breakfast? And he said to me, I need your bank account number because I have a surprise for you. And I was like, yes.
The opportunities that we have for our careers and what we can see for ourselves, the abundance financially, all of that can come when we release the stuff that's in the way.
In working with thousands of people throughout my professional career and also in my personal life, where they're scratching their head and asking, is this all there is? And I felt this way before. Life can be so much richer, so much more joyful, and you can fill that hole deep inside of what's yearning passionately for fulfillment.
In the physical world, you got to go get it. You got to do something. This is the plane of demonstration. You got to go get it, and when you're in lack until it occurs, right?
So, what I'm hearing you say, there's a way to not chase but attract.
All right. So if you're creating from the field instead of from matter, right? There's a very strong possibility that you'll shorten the distance between the thought of what you want and the experience of having it. And when there's a vibrational match between your energy and that future that you want to experience. Now, if you're creating from the field, you actually don't go anywhere to get it. You actually draw it to you. So here comes the synchronicities, the serendipities, the coincidences, the opportunities.
If you look at the Forbes 100 list, almost all of them got rich off just one thing. So a story of that is my friend David Hauser. I don't know if you guys know him, but he sold Grasshopper.com to Citrix for $200 million. So with you and your own projects out there, instead of being like, I'm gonna try a bunch of different things and see which one works, why don't you pick whatever's working the best and just go really hard on that? That's what the richest people are doing.
So this is how the compensation game works. And the more value you provide, the more money you can earn. A lot of people get stuck in the trap of thinking, I have to work more hours to make more money. Or I have to totally switch careers or industries to earn more. But that's not always true. You need to find a way to provide more value. And there are a lot of possible ways to do that. The following clips will demonstrate how you can earn more money. And what's even better is that they highlight why you should not only focus on how much money you're making, but how what you do every day is making you feel.
You manifested $1 million basically overnight.
5 days.
5 days.
Yeah.
Give or take. So start with telling us a little bit about that story, and then I want to dig deeper into the process of manifesting.
Okay. So to give people context, I was paid $1 million for a 1-year coaching contract. Yes, that's true. And the process which led to there. So many people get hung up on that. Right. They're like, what? How? What? Few people ask the really important question is, how did you become a match to that? Because it wasn't winning the lottery. Someone actually said, your coaching is worth $1 million. Yeah. How did that process happen? And that process was one of about 14, 15 months. And really was me facing off with all of my beliefs, insecurities, fears around money and abundance, and understanding the energetics of money and what it really is and how to make it. And I had a woman on my podcast on the deep dive. Her name is Marcy Locke, and I was an Encinitas at the time, and she was known for being paid $1 million from multiple clients. She coached people from like the Walmart family. And so that's how she was talked about as the $1 million mentor. And I had her sit in front of me at my house and I interviewed her on my podcast. And I said, I don't even know how you say that with a straight face. The idea of me telling someone it's $1 million to work with me makes me uncomfortable. And I can't, how? And she left after that conversation and it bothered me. I was so bothered by the fact that why couldn't I charge $1 million? Why? What is that going on inside of myself? And that began a real process of inquiry over the next year of so many different stories I could tell you about money in various different ways. But trust me when I say it was just a complete gauntlet initiation around money over and over and over. And when we talk about money, when we understand that it's energy, it literally is just energy and it's all a game. This is all made up. Literally, it used to be backed by gold. It's not anymore. Those numbers they're just numbers on a screen. It's all energy at this stage. And the understanding of that and the process of manifestation, because there is a process to it, unlocked something for me that later became my nonprofit that I founded. It became the Art of Choosing Love. It became the Create community. It became buying my parents a house. Like, it became so much beauty that wasn't really even about me and didn't make any sense. In hindsight, if you did what I did with $1 million, I'd say you're ridiculous. Like that, what are you doing? That there's no business advisor on the planet that would tell me to do what I did with that money. And I freaked out at a certain point. And I reached out to a mentor and I said, I'm the dude that, like, I'm that guy. I'm going to be homeless and whatever, I was just deep in it. And he said to me, have you followed what you feel you've been guided to do every step of the way? And I said, yes. And he said, great, that's your end of the contract. That's the reason you were given it, because you are the person who would do that even when it seems stupid. And so I think it's important for people, if there's a message that I want to get across to people, it's that the desire to have more money, why? Like, legitimately, why do you want more money? What will you do with it? What do you think is going to change about your life? I don't think enough people ask those questions. And I can tell you, as someone who got $1 million and then went into the deepest depression of his life and saw his relationship end and saw so much shift, I think that aspect is what I want people to start to think about. Because when you call that energy in without having the container to hold it, it can fry your system. People think that growth is linear. Growth isn't linear. Right. Growth looks like a staircase. It's these huge leaps, and then there's an integration, an embodiment process. And once you hit that embodiment, there's another leap, and then you integrate and embody, and it looks like a staircase. It's not this linear thing. And I share that. I've started to share more openly about that $1 million. I didn't for a long time. Yeah. And it was like whispered about by people in the community and stuff, because I didn't want that to be like, I could have marketed it and blah, blah, blah. But I share it because it breaks people's idea of what's possible.
Yeah.
The poem that went viral, 200 million views, that wasn't my event that I performed at. It wasn't my camera crew. I didn't edit it. It wasn't even released on my platform. And here I was having, probably at that time, I'm not sure, that was 2018. So I'd been releasing videos on the internet since 2013. So already 5 years I'd been doing it. Already I toured internationally my poetry on my own dime, losing money just to do the events because I loved it. And so by the time it went viral, all of a sudden I went from 5,000 Instagram followers to 100,000 Instagram followers. It was like, oh, what the hell just happened? But it's not, the energy of the seed was already planted.
Yeah.
And that's really important for people to understand. You become a match to it. And becoming a match to it, by the way, is more a process of removing what's not a match than it is about adding anything else.
1000%.
We are like corks in water, and we will naturally rise, but we have things that tie us down and hold us back. And when we can cut those loose, we will naturally, effervescently rise to the surface. And I think that that's important for people to know, that you're not broken. You're not broken. That's a huge piece that has been such a big part of my wounding through life, has been thinking there's something wrong with me. And that comes from having that memory that was locked away from me, and just my body knowing there's something off and I can't see it. And so just making the assumption that there's something wrong with me. And that wounding, I want people to know there's nothing wrong with you. You've picked up additional shit you don't have to carry. And if we can let that go, all of our dreams start to come true. All of the things that we want, the love that we're desiring in partnership, the opportunities that we have for our careers and what we can see for ourselves, the abundance financially, all of that can come when we release the stuff that's in the way.
Have you created success in your life but still feel like something is missing? No matter how much money you make or what achievements you may have earned, there is still somehow a feeling of emptiness inside. Since you're watching this video right now, I'm going to assume the answer to those questions is a yes. Hi, I'm Micheline Nader, best-selling author, entrepreneur, philanthropist, mother, daughter, wife, and fellow human being. And listen, I get it. In working with thousands of people throughout my professional career and also in my personal life, I've met so many people who feel just like you do. And I felt this way before. So many people I know, whether they're 22 or 62 or even 82, reach a pivotal point in their life where they're scratching their head and asking, is this all there is? Well, I have good news for you. Life can be so much richer, so much more joyful, and you can fill that hole deep inside of what's yearning passionately for fulfillment. Listen, you don't have to wait until age 82 to finally wake up to true unlimited happiness and fulfillment. I created this fast-track program to get you up to speed quickly because my heart felt so sad for so many people who wander through the majority of their lives disconnected from who they really are and who they really want to be. In careers they don't want to be in. In relationships, they feel stuck inside of running businesses that don't light them up, and so on and so forth. If you'd like to feel fulfilled, if you like to wake up every morning passionate and excited, if you'd like to be connected with a higher purpose, and if you'd like to connect with your passion and find a way to turn it into an incredible income and service to the world, well, grab this special promotional offer for the Fulfillment Finder Fast Track right now. Look, it's going to cost you about the price of a lunch, all right? We created this offer so price isn't something that stands in the way between you and a really fulfilled life that you create on your own terms. And it's not going to take you much time. The shortest lesson is just 12 minutes long, and the longest is only 45 minutes. The whole course is about 2.5 hours in total. So just imagine, in less than 3 hours of your precious time, you could have total clarity and you could experience unparalleled levels of happiness, joy, and fulfillment in your future that you create right now. You can remove all the guesswork about what's next for you in your life, career, or business, and you can be ready to execute an action plan that has you smile as you look back on your life from your deathbed. I've never seen anything like this before. In fact, that's why I created it. If you know Wayne Dyer, he used to tell a story about a man who looked back on his life as he was getting ready to pass away. This man had a sudden realization and asked himself the question, what if my whole life has been wrong? Do you want to look back and have to ask yourself that question? Or would you like to look back and feel proud of your journey and every moment between then and now? Feel fully fulfilled, alive, awake, happy. You can't change the beginning of your life and career up to this point, but you can start where you are and create a whole new future and design a really terrific ending. Life by design instead of default? What a great idea! The choice is yours. I am not going to sugarcoat it. There is a little bit of personal development work that goes into this, but I'm here to provide my framework and make it easier than ever for you. And the best part is you can do it right now, today. And while doing something for this course or having one intention, you're gonna get so many things more than your own intention. Because with growth and development work, you never know where it takes you. But I know one thing, it will take you to fulfillment. So click the button right now and I'll see you inside. You're going to thank me later, and more importantly, you're going to thank yourself for doing this. I've walked many people through this fulfillment finder process before, and the transformation is nothing short of incredible. And you know what really surprises me every time? The people who do this process get the outcome they wanted and much more. And they also each experience a positive shift inside of them and in their outside world that they weren't expecting. You see, there are things that we know and things we don't know. And there are things that we know we don't know. And there is also a whole world of possibilities that exist that we don't yet know we don't know. If you'd like to know and make some new empowering choices, let's get together. What are you waiting for? See you in a minute, okay? Now fasten your seatbelt for two very different kind of clips. Two that you may not have expected to listen to when you click to watch this video. First, you will hear from a man about how he attracted a large sum of money using meditation to assist him. Next, you will hear from Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is a brilliant leader and scientific researcher, as he explains his perspective on how we combine mystical ideas with science, evidence, and everyday action. As we head into this next segment, it's important to me that you realize this is not a question of think positively and it will come to you automatically. You will notice that there is a great deal of action being taken that is causing these incredible results to come to fruition. What makes the results so incredible, however, is the state of mind the person is in as they are doing the actions and how they are focusing their attention and intention every day. Watch now and you'll see what I mean.
And it was the Wednesday night. Now, we were just getting ready to start, and he sent me this text like, OMFG. I need to talk to you right away. I would not bother you unless this was big. So like I never look at my phone before I go out. I'm like, and then I say, okay. And I say, okay, call me. He says, no, I'm going to FaceTime you because I want you to see my face. Truth?
True.
Anyway, this is Robert.
So, this is one of my favorite exercises, is to dimensionalize the objects. And so, It was Cancun 2 last year. That was our third workshop. And I'm like, I really need to do something different. And I was talking to my husband, and he said, well, your client is selling his company. Maybe he's going to give you a bonus. And I said, oh, I don't want to do money. That's so crass. And he's like, no, do something. And I'm like, well, how much? So we were taking a trip to Europe with our friends, and we're like, well, $10,000 would be great. I'm going to put $10,000, but it can't just be cash or a check. So I dimensionalize a wire transfer from my client on my phone, and in the meditations, I felt the phone, I felt the glass, and then even going down to the wire transfer, I could feel the raised letters. You get a connection with this. So the first object meditation.
Wait. So what he dimensionalized was on the screen of his cell phone, a transfer into his Bank of America account. That's what the image he had on there that would represent the manifestation. Are you with me still? Okay.
So we do our meditation, and we go into our object, and there's my $10,000, and I have a connection with it, and I'm radiating out, and I'm like, I'm going to get that $10,000. Something really strange happened, and the 10 turned, there was an extra zero, so it turned into $100,000. And I said, no, go back. And it was a tug of war. It went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then in that first meditation, I won. So later that night, we were with our friends in the pool talking about our objects and our experience. And they're like, well, why are you arguing with it? And I'm like, $10,000 is enough. I don't need $100,000. I need $10,000. They said, you're crazy. Take the $100,000. So on Sunday, we do our object again, and I'm going to let go. I'm going to surrender. And so I have the object, I have my $100,000, and it was, especially for the people who have done the advanced workshops, when that moment clicks, when something's going to happen. What? We don't know. Still, I'm going to be happy with $10,000. So I actually had to leave right after the meditation to fly to San Diego for a meeting. And on the flight there, I thought, I'm going to continue. You guys are meditating, so I'm going to meditate. So I do.
Now listen to this. You know what he did? He said, well, it hasn't materialized yet. I'm just going to collapse more waves into particles. I'm going to put more of my intentional thought and energy directed towards it, and I'm going to feel my connection to it and observe it again. So that it begins to form more density and more particles collapse.
And you guys, I have to say something. It really is that simple. I don't know what to say other than it is that simple. If you just let go and go to that place, things happen. So I do the meditation. I get to San Diego. In the morning, every morning, my husband and I, we meditate 1 hour every day, no matter what. I got up in the morning. I did my meditation. Right after my meditation, I got a text from my client. Hey, are you free to have breakfast? And I said, oh, yeah, sure. So I go down and I have breakfast. And he said to me, I need your bank account number. And I said, why? He said, because I have a surprise for you. And I was like, yes. My $10,000. And I was like, okay, yeah. He said, he sold his company. I had a chance to become an employee, and I turned it down. And he said, you've always been there for us. You've helped us out, so I have a surprise for you. And I was like, mm-hmm. So this is what popped into my bank account. It was $500,000. you know, and I don't want money to be like a crass thing, but this was a fun thing. But the craziest part was when he told me that, I had no elevated reaction, and it troubled me later. And I was like, this is so crazy. Why? Yes, I'm grateful, I'm happy, but it's weird. It wasn't a big deal. And Joe said, that's because you already experienced it. You already had the chemistry in the field. You already felt it. So of course it was going to happen. So you guys, it really is that simple.
Now, we know what he
Close your
did.
eyes and do the work.
You know what he did? He took a good portion of that money and he gave it away.
Yes.
You know why?
Actually,
Because he said if I created this, I should be able to do it again.
yeah.
Yes or no? And is that the consciousness of abundance? That is the consciousness of abundance.
What is your thoughts around the identity of money and the psychology of how it plays in our lives? Because a lot of people want to make more, they want to attract more, but they're just struggling with just the concept of it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've been programmed quite a bit with our relationship with money. And we have a relationship with everything known in our environment. You have a relationship, a neurological network in your brain for your parents, for your cell phone, for your computer, where you live, where you've lived in the past, what you're going to do tomorrow. That, for the most part, the brain is a reflection of everything that we know, right? So along with that is our relationship with money.
So before 12, roughly, what we see, how we model our parents' behavior, what they say to us.
It's all being programmed subconsciously, right? And so that's really, really important, because if you heard money is the root of all evil, money is bad, only certain people are allowed to make money, you have to work hard to make money, this is how you got to do it. And that becomes the foundation subconsciously. Recording an audio file. You just keep recording that audio file, it becomes a subconscious program, right? So a lot of people have a relationship with money based on either what they've been told or what they've experienced in their outer environment, right? So then we gain information from our environment, and the stronger the emotion we feel from experiences in our lives, the more altered we feel inside of us, the more the brain freezes a frame and takes a picture. And that snapshot is called the memory. So
based on an emotion.
Based on an emotion. The emotion alters our internal state. So you're going along as Lewis, feeling really good, and all of a sudden you have this trauma, you have this crisis, you have this shock, and all of a sudden you have this dramatic change in your internal state, and your senses get heightened, and then you freeze the frame and you associate this internal state with whatever it is that's causing it, right? And that's how we create long-term memories, right? So think about people who have relationships with money, right, from the past. All beliefs are based on past experiences. So you have an experience where you lose money, you have an experience where money's taken away from you, you have an experience where you don't have enough, you're living in a place where there's not enough money, or a family that's not enough money. Then the emotion that most people are living by on a moment-to-moment basis is lack. Like, I'm in lack of having something that I want. Okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with that, because the experience changes your emotional state. You freeze the frame, you take a picture. The problem is, that's hardware. So we think neurologically within the circuits of that past experience, and we feel chemically within the boundaries of that emotion, which would say, for example, be lack, right? So now the person says...
Before you go on to the next thing, what happens to the body and the mind when it is in an environment of lack? Mentally or physically, I'm in lack. What is the body and the mind saying?
Yeah, so the body is saying, I'm waiting for some external event to occur. I win the lottery. I marry the right guy. Whatever it is, that you're waiting for that event to occur. That experience produces an emotion. So the emotion then takes away the lack, And so when we play the game in three-dimensional reality, the creation game in three-dimensional reality, we experience separation from everyone or everything because our senses fool us into the illusion, the hallucination of separation. I'm here and you're there. I'm here and the door is over there. So I'm aware that I'm here at one point of consciousness and the door is over there, another point of consciousness. Okay, so in order for me to get from here to the door, I got to move my body and do something through space. I got to do something, and everything in this three-dimensional reality is going to take time and energy, right? So, okay, so then here's Lewis right here, and then he says, okay, I want this experience in my future, and your brain automatically predicts and projects how far in the future you think it's going to take.
Maybe it's a year, 5 years, 10 years.
30 years.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Because that's what it's going to take to pay off that house, right? So now, one point of consciousness, I'm here. The other point of consciousness is where I'm placing my dream. So I'm separate from that experience. So then how do I get to that experience? In three-dimensional reality, you got to get up and you got to do something. You got to go to work. You got to drive to work. It takes energy. You got to fill your car with gas. You got to eat food. You got to work. All this stuff. You got to sleep. You got to recover if there's stress. And now people are, in a sense, waiting for the experience that's 10 years down the road or 30 years down the road to happen to take away the lack of them not having it. And unfortunately, many times when the experience finally occurs, they can't enjoy it because they're too exhausted, right? So you play the game, you go to school, you study really hard, or you study on your own, you develop some skills, you make the right choices, you start saving money, you start learning from your mistakes, and then the game is how many things can you accumulate, and that accumulation then you associate with being wealthy or being abundant or being successful, right? And some people get really good at it, right? You can get really good at that. But for the most part, though, when we create from three-dimensional reality, we're creating from lack and separation. In other words, you're driving down the road and you see someone driving a car that all of a sudden you realize that you don't have. The moment you become aware that that person has that car and you don't have it, you're in lack of having it, right? So what the brain naturally does is it naturally creates you driving that car. And you have an image of yourself driving that car and you start identifying, wow, that would be a greater experience for me to have. The problem is the distance between the thought of what you want and the experience of actually happening for most people is the concept called time, right? Between cause and effect, right? So some people develop the ability to manage themselves and manage their life. They develop certain skills and they can pay for it and they can get it very quickly. The problem is when the novelty of that experience wears off, the car, and they're no longer identifying with that, and the feeling of emptiness and lack comes back.
They need to find something else.
They got to go and find something else. And so there's this game that goes on where you never have enough, right? And that's the lack game, right? So then if you think about people having the things they want in their life, when they create from lack and separation, it's the experience in three-dimensional reality that produces the emotion, and the emotion is saying, let's feel and experience this thing that you've been in lack and separation from, and that emotion then takes away the lack or separation. But you've worked really hard to get it, okay? Nothing wrong with that. Is there another way to do it?
Yes.
Okay, so the person who's living in lack is waiting for their wealth to feel abundant. They're waiting for their success to feel empowered. They're waiting for their healing to feel gratitude. They're waiting for their new relationship to feel love. They're waiting for their mystical experience to feel awe. That's the Newtonian model of reality, of cause and effect. Waiting for that event to happen to take away this separation or lack. Nothing wrong with it. It's the way most people create. But what we've discovered is actually something else. The moment you feel gratitude, your healing begins. The moment you feel worthy and abundant, you're generating wealth. The moment you're empowered, you are moving towards your success. The moment you're in love with yourself and you're in love with life, you'll create an equal. The moment you are in awe of life, you're going to have a mystical experience. And so that's causing an effect, right? So then if you can teach people then how to create, instead of from lack or separation, but create from wholeness, and create from what we call the quantum field instead of three-dimensional reality.
What's the difference?
Okay, so the way you, first of all, it takes knowledge. Okay, the quantum field is an invisible field of energy that exists beyond our senses. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't hear it, you can't feel it. It exists beyond our experience of three-dimensional reality. You could study all kinds of science and they'll tell you there is this invisible field of frequency and energy that exists beyond the senses that tend to connect everything physical and material. In fact, everything physical and material is connected to this field. Okay, so how do you get there? I know that sounds kind of crazy, but when you put your attention on space and you divert your attention, the act of sensing without thinking actually starts to slow the brainwaves down. Not only slow it down, but all of a sudden cause the brain to start reintegrating, starts to synchronize, right? And so you see different compartments of the brain that were firing out of order start to resonate. They start to communicate. They're all of a sudden synchronizing, and what syncs in the brain kind of links in the brain. So when a person has their whole entire brain firing in rhythm, that's a very strong signal that you can send out into the field.
So when that signal is strong in that position, what can you create from that space?
Okay, so, but that's only one element.
Okay.
So then the clear intention tends to be a very important element that we have to get down. And the more coherent the brain, the more clear the signal for that intention. So with intention and attention, we could actually make thought more real than anything else. Now, what is that? You're saying, what would it be like to be wealthy? What would it be like to be abundant? What would it be like to have all my needs met? What would it be like to have more than I need? What would I do if I had everything I ever wanted? The answer always is the same. You start giving stuff away. Because if an abundant person is truly abundant, why would they hold on? They would say, I'm not in lack. There's more for everybody, okay? Turns out, though, that the signal sent out isn't enough. You have to draw the experience back to you. And so
you're sending the signal out to,
it's coherent brain,
financial freedom,
whatever
abundance, all these different things.
Right. Whatever that is for you. Whatever that is for you.
You're putting that out there with your signal, with the intention and the attention.
Right.
And then how do you draw it to
so
you?
in
the physical world,
right. In the physical world, you got to go get it. You got to do something. This is the plane of demonstration. You got to go get it. And when you're in lack until it occurs, right?
But I'm hearing you say there's a way to not chase but attract.
All right, so if you're creating from the field instead of from matter, right, there's a very strong possibility that you'll shorten the distance between the thought of what you want and the experience of having it. And when there's a vibrational match between your energy and that future that you want to experience, now if you're creating from the field, you actually don't go anywhere to get it. You actually draw it to you. So here comes the synchronicities, the serendipities, the coincidences, the opportunities, and they come out of nowhere.
A lot of the richest people I know got rich doing really boring things. A lot of times when we're reading news articles, we're looking at like sexy tech companies like Notion, or Airtable. But the reality is there's a lot of rich people doing boring ass stuff. So I'm gonna tell you about a friend of mine. He started an e-commerce company about 10 years ago, and he was selling, get this, valet stands. Valet stands, yeah, like the ones you go at a restaurant. And he made millions of dollars selling that business. It's not something you would really hear about or talk about, but I think the thing I wanna encourage you to think about is that be wary of all the flashy, sexy companies, because a lot of times it's selling lighting, it's doing restaurant, maybe it's doing power washing. You can get really rich doing boring things. So number 10, the richest people I know get rich not by saving to get rich, but by investing and spending to get more wealthy. One of the stories that really stuck out with me is how hard they go with that. So a friend of mine that lives in Puerto Rico that has hundreds of millions of dollars in Ethereum, he sent me this story, and I'm just gonna read the story because I thought it was so freaking wild. When I was living very frugally when I loaded up on crypto from 2013 to 2016, I didn't take any vacations for fun at that time. I lived with a roommate, we had rent control. I never went out. I hardly dated. I wore the same clothes. I just changed my underwear pretty much every day, and I had 2 pairs of jeans at the time. He even repaired his shoes versus buying new ones. And for 3 years, he just did consulting, collected checks, and put 75% of what he earned into crypto. And so the richest people have taken the biggest risks, taken the most failures, and they get the biggest results. I think what I've noticed from a lot of people that aren't getting what they want or early on in their business journey, they're afraid of failure. But the most successful people have taken the most fails. And they've also gone to the most extremes for what they believed in. So I don't know about you, but me, I have a lot of different projects going on at the time. And the reality though is that if you look at the Forbes 100 list, almost all of them got rich off just one thing. So a story of that is my friend David Hauser. I don't know if you guys know him, but he sold Grasshopper.com to Citrix for $200 million. Now, David did a lot of different businesses, but he just did that, sold it $200 million, and now he can do whatever the hell he wants. So with you and your own projects out there, instead of being like, I'm going to try a bunch of different things and see which one works, why don't you pick whatever's working the best and just go really hard on that? That's what the richest people are doing. Number 4, this is really counterintuitive, is that they do investments to stay rich, not to get rich. Huh? So a lot of people, especially the Robin Hooders or the crypto kitties out there, they're going and dumping all their money in whatever's the hottest, latest trend. Maybe it's NBA Top Shot or maybe it's some new coin. And then they're like, oh, am I going to get rich overnight? And the reality is that's gambling. So as with Damodoran, I highly recommend on YouTube. I got to sit down with him a few months ago in San Diego. And I said, how do you think about investing for the younger generation, for people like me and people like you that are just getting going? He's like, unless you were a professional, meaning that is all you do with your finances as an investor, look at investing as a way to stay rich, not as a way to get rich. And I thought that was a beautiful example that all of us can think of.
It's like watching a gambler, right? You watch a gambler in a Vegas casino. There are points in the night where that gambler is doing really well and is really rich. But guess what? You gamble long enough, you're going to end up losing everything you gain.
You can get rich in a job with stock maybe, or starting your own business, or working for someone that's rich. But as an investor, unless you're professionally doing that all day long, don't expect that to get rich.
And less is more. I mean, historically, the more activity there is on the part of the investor, the worse the returns are that investors have.
Number 5, this is surprising. Most of the richest people I've ever met are not much smarter than you or me. But what they're willing to do is put in more time and suffer for longer. So let me give you a few examples to kind of really hone this in. And one of my favorite things is meeting people who get rich after a long period of time. So Beeple, everyone's talking about his NFT, sold for $69 million. Oh my God. Do you guys realize that for every day for 14 years, he posted an image? So for you, just do something for 14 years every single day. And yes, you can probably sell something for $69 million. Same thing goes like Buffer.com. These guys worked for years not having a lot of success. And eventually, years later, Buffer.com is now a $20 million business. So and another example is AppSumo.com. I did not really get a salary until about 6-7 years in. And then finally I could make 7 figures after really suffering and putting in the work, hiring the team and growing the business. So for you out there, as you are starting your company, expect it to take a long time. And as long as you do that, you will get a level of success. One thing I recommend is the law of 100. So if you're doing a YouTube channel or if you're doing emails or whatever it is, do 100 videos and keep improving each one. And by the 100th one, I promise you, you'll be further ahead than you expected and you'll have committed to it. And guess what? You can decide at that point how much further you want to take it. But success takes time.
Neil Donald Walsh, who doesn't know him, your life is not about you. Your life is about everyone else you touch and the way in which you touch them. When we get to integrate this, we are leapers. How are we leaping? Are we leaping from time to time on a daily basis, just occasionally? Doesn't matter. You're leapers because you're setting yourself up in a space where you can leap at any moment. Leaping does not mean that you know how you're leaping. Leaping means, and we're gonna review a little bit just a very at the surface what we've done to put ourselves in this space. Is a generative process, is a precipitous process that will lead us to a future that we don't know exists. According to Maya Angelou, you have no idea what your legacy will be. Your legacy is what you do every day. Your legacy is every life you've touched, every person whose life was either moved or not. It's every person you've harmed or helped. That's your legacy. I would say that for your legacy to last in a positive way, in a transformative way, your legacy would be every person you've helped. Every person. You have the tools now because we followed the program of Leap to create unlimited success and unlimited fulfillment in your life and in your business. The caveat of becoming extremely successful is that at times the ego takes over and some leaders become arrogant. obsessed with their power, and they think that they are invincible. When leaders like you realize that leadership is no longer about them, but the effect of that leadership on others, they choose to use the momentum of success that they've created for themselves to elevate those around them, which becomes the new ultimate symbol of success for themselves. And this marks the readiness to leap beyond success. You're leapers. You set yourself up to leap, but you're leaping beyond your own success. This is what matters because this is your legacy. It is so important. Some people say we don't have to lean in our passion to be successful. You're absolutely right. This is what I tell them. But what's fun? You know, even if you're interviewing people and you have a podcast, let's say this is your passion. If you're passionate about personal development and growth, interviewing people or authors, transformative authors in that space would be playing in your sandbox. But if you're interviewing people because of the news and you don't like the news, you don't even listen to the news, you could be successful because you mastered the skills of interviewing. But would we get that spark? Would we get that clip during the interview that makes your listeners, your audience tick? I tell you no. When Oprah Winfrey was the normal interviewer on TV with her Friday show, she was great. That was allowed her to go play in her sandbox and create their own television. But when she started interviewing people who really resonate with her message, did she become more powerful? Did she affect and impact more people? Yes. So we learned how to lean into our passion for fun, because we're going to see in this program, it's not only about serving others, it's serving ourselves at the same time. And while serving ourselves, serving others, and creating that impact in our life and the life of other people, and aligning this together will resonate with the higher vibration of this universe. Whether we're spiritual and we think that we're spiritual or not, we will never be able not to believe in the spiritual part of ourselves, the one that we don't understand, where we came from, why we're here. We don't understand it. But we know that there is a dimension to us that is not only physical. And in that dimension, if we are aligning this physical dimension to that bigger dimension of us, we're resonating with the field also around us. So our execution from our purpose is more powerful. We learn the principle of execution. We know that we could lean into our passion and love what we're doing, but if we don't execute, if we don't put that massive action behind what we're doing, and smart action, and even smarter, to be really realistic, then we cannot strike out. We cannot hit that ball that we wanted to go towards our goals. We can't hit our goals there. So would you love to leap every day? Yeah, of course. Without fear of criticism, without fear of failure, with total confidence in your vision and abilities, and total harmony with the external systems around you? Heck yes. Does this mean you're not gonna fail? No, you're gonna fail. But what is your relationship with failure? Welcome failure. Do you remember? Because the lessons that we're gonna learn from the failures are much more valuable than not daring to fail. So here, let's do our quick assessment. If you're ready to leap after you finished all these steps and you integrated them, and see where you are. Take your notebook, as usual. Take few deep breaths. You could take 3 deep breaths, 4 times 4 times 4, or 4 deep breaths if you want to do like the total square. You inhale for 4, you hold your breath for 4, you exhale for 4, you wait for 4, and you inhale again. And you could do it 4 times, you could do it 3 times. In my experience, 3 deep breaths will get you there. Let's inhale together. Now read the statements that I'm gonna ask you, or tell you the statements that I'm gonna say, rating them mostly false as 1 and mostly true as 10, and write the number in your notebook. My list of priorities is focused on how I can accomplish more social, impactful actions than personal acquisitions. Mostly true 10, mostly false 1. My personal mission, purpose, and goals are aligned with a greater mission and purpose to benefit others along with me. From 1 to 10. I pay attention to the means of my action and do not believe that the means justify the ends. From 1 to 10. I always lead from my passion and not out of obligation. From 1 to 10. My end goal is fulfillment and contribution beyond personal success. From 1 to 10. I always take responsibility for my actions, even when I'm inclined by others to take these actions. From 1 to 10. I have no problem selecting a project from the unknown future, even when my past experience is different. My financial success is a means to do social good around me. I always execute on my goals and ask for help when I need it. I recognize my emotional triggers and redirect them to fuel and manifest my vision. I'm willing to change my point of view and challenge my beliefs in order to evolve. From 1 to 10. I use my intuition and can recognize when it is biased by past experience. Rate yourself from 1 to 10. I let passion and compassion fuel my future actions, even when they present a challenge for my beliefs. Rate yourself from 1 to 10. I strive for personal fulfillment and understand that success without it is the ultimate failure. I purposefully help people around me succeed and understand that my success alone, when people around me fail, is the utmost disappointment. Let's add up your points and see how did you do. The maximum score on this assessment is 150 points. If you are between 100 and 150, congrats. You are ready to leap. You'll be able to set an example for people around you and coach them to succeed and go beyond to help others do as well. If you are below 50 points, that's okay. Please don't be hard on yourself. Maybe you've attained success but are not yet fulfilled. I recommend you set an intention for yourself to go beyond yourself. The tools inside this module are designed to help you achieve this goal. We can do it together. You could also pause, go back to the steps before, or continue and then go back and review at the end. So, leap, jump, and the net will appear. Have you ever heard this then saying before and not quite understood it? In the following slides, I'm about to demystify it for you and make you understand how pragmatic it is to jump and see what happens. Because as business leaders, we are constantly looking for new ways to innovate, evolve, and leap. Part of the natural order of things is that we are continuously evolving, even biologically, right? Individually and collectively, we build on the progress of previous eras to innovate and grow into something new every time, as if like we're building up to what happened and adding up and evolving. And when we add up something, not always, but most probably it's gonna be an innovative step, we're innovating. When you take the traditional leap and apply it in the context of the LEAP framework that we've just studied together, which is lean into your passion, execute from your purpose, align your mindset, and program your emotions. This new understanding of leaping becomes a vehicle that bypasses the normal progression of things to create a great jump for you from one level to another, exponentially higher from a previously unimagined one. Why am I saying what I'm saying? Because now we put everything that possibly could help you leap to your own advantage. Not only we put it there as a tool, we mastered it. Now we're mastering our circumstances in a way that whatever happens, we're able to catch it and transform it. So you're not waiting until you evolve in this area of mindset, or probably you can align your narratives to what you're doing, or getting clear, crystal clear on the goal that you want to achieve and how it's aligned to your personal mission statement. You know it exactly. It's crystal clear. You know even the metrics of your success, and you know how to program your emotions, not only by mastering your emotions and managing them, but even extracting this positive emotion, attaching it to the end result in order to manifest. So leaping, that jump, becomes accessible to you if you're putting all this capsule to work for you. It's accessible, it's now. So whenever it's accessible and whenever you're practicing it, not only accessible, because this takes commitment, and I've said it from the beginning, it's absolutely an intentional commitment to continue doing the leap until the leap becomes a habit and a pattern, a default system in your operating system, like in your computer. You've set it up. It is becoming a pattern of success and beyond. Then you're setting yourself up for a leap, and you don't know when the leap is going to happen and how the leap is going to happen and how this great jump or great progression that surpasses the normal levels of evolution, the normal level of incremental evolution to happen. This new understanding of leaping is a vehicle that bypasses those little incremental progressional evolutionary steps. So you're evolving. Even with the incremental steps, you're evolving. On a daily basis, you're evolving everywhere. But boy, when these leaps happen, when these big, huge, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that I could be here, and I'm here. That's the juice of it, and not for you only. As you're leaping, you're making the whole crowd around you see that possibility of leap and giving them the permission to do it in their life. You know, scientists, mathematicians, philosophers, and theologians have all done this in the past. They stood on the shoulders of giants and then combined that wisdom with new ideas of their own to advance humanity's vision of what is possible and then manifest it.